Hello there. Welcome to Mr. Kenyon's studio. I was just jamming on some Twinkle Little Star. No, actually, in all seriousness, Twinkle Little Star is a beautiful melody. In its own right, it's a brilliant composition. So many songs use the same melody as Twinkle Little Star. Have you ever heard this song before? That's What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. Uses the same melody as Twinkle Little Star, at least it starts that way. But there are so many other songs, not just other nursery rhymes, but other non-nursery rhyme songs that use the same melody as Twinkle Little Star. I digress. What's all this Twinkle Little Star talk about anyway? Well, Twinkle Little Star is a nursery rhyme, and like all nursery rhymes, most nursery rhymes, there's not much dissonance in there. The thing is, if it weren't for dissonance in music, all music would sound like nursery rhymes. You know, and nursery rhymes are great, but it would get boring really quickly. So you gotta have dissonance. Dissonance in music, if you don't know what that is, it's the clashing harmonies. This is an example of dissonance here. That's probably the most offensive to our modern ears. That's called a half step. This also is considered a dissonance. That's not quite as bad, but that's still a clash. Even this is considered dissonance. So those kind of harmonies, those intervals can be used in other harmonies. An interval is just two notes played together, and harmony can be two or more notes. So in chords you can have multiple intervals in there, so you can have lots of half steps in there, like right when you clump them all together like that, it sounds pretty awful. But dissonance sounds offensive in a way to the ear, but it's necessary because it's what gives the music, it's what makes the music interesting. I liken it to conflict in a story. Imagine if you had a story where there was no conflict. It was just mundane all the way through. That would be a really boring story, right? I mean, imagine going to a movie and the whole movie was just about somebody going to work and nothing eventful happened in the entire movie. Now, no one would want to watch that movie, right? So it's kind of like if there was music that had no dissonance in it, it would be just like that, the musical equivalent of that. So you absolutely have to have dissonance in music. And on its own, yes, it may sound terrible, but it's in context. It has a context to it where it makes sense, where it drives the tension in the music, builds up the tension. And then what makes it sound good is, in the context, how it gets resolved, right? It's like in a story, or in a film, or any media that tells a story, you have that conflict, but the conflict has to have some sort of resolution to it, right? So it's the same thing. You have to have both, right? You have to have the conflict because that's what keeps you on the edge of your seat, right? If there was no situation that would be dangerous or potentially harmful in any way to your protagonist in the story, in the movie, then you're not going to have that feeling of being on the edge of your seat, or there's no drama, there's nothing to keep you engaged, to really care about the person, you know. So dissonance is sort of like that. It kind of drives the conflict in the music, so to speak, for lack of a better way of putting that. It makes the music interesting. So I'm going to play Twinkle Little Star again for you, but I'm going to put some dissonance in there and resolve it and see how much more interesting it sounds.